Hello everyone, today we're going to learn about specials. Specials are deadly in Vermintide, but they are also predictable, so we're going to study closely the mechanics and decision making that they're programmed with so we can come up with a couple good strategies to annihilate them and stay safe at the same time. One more note, we're going to use a mod today for the first time that lets us spawn whatever we want to, whenever we want to, so we can really closely observe them and so we can hear all the little noises they make. If you don't have headset or really good headphones as you're playing this game, you're missing 30-40% of it. The sound is fantastic. It'll really increase your abilities in this game, awareness-wise and combat-wise. Highly recommended. Alright, let's get into it. Pay close attention to what you can observe. What do you see and what do you hear?
Kill the vermin before it grows. Gus! Don't you feel it? The weave rebels. Watch out, Gus!
Alright, let's discuss. So the first thing you should have noted is when the gas rat was very far away, he has a catch-up behavior. The game detects that the nearest viable target is quite a distance away and puts him in this state where he's going to literally pick it up and book it. He's going to run. But watch what he did. He did this. That is not a Diablo 1 straightest path towards the nearest target type programming. He's designed to skirt the edges of combat, to skirt near cover, to be a little bit disorganized and unpredictable. Okay, so that's one. Let's talk about sounds. You heard the characteristic sound of the gas rat. Here it is again.
Breathe carefully. I spy a Globadier.
That kind of breathing, gaspy sound. That's how you know it's a Globadier. What else did we hear? When he got close enough, and I had line of sight, we did what's called a call-out. The call-out happens when, again, a player is near enough to a special, some critical threshold radius, let's say, and has line of sight. Let's say I was right here, and the dwarf was right here. You would have heard the call-out from the elf. All four players would have heard the elf call out the Globadier. There is a unique call-out for each player and each type of special. So you get a lot of information from that. The first obvious bit of information is what type of special it is. But, more importantly, you also get information on where it is. The elf saw it, not the dwarf. So if I was a handgun dwarf, I would not be looking over here, over here, over here, over here for the special. I would be looking over here. And let's say Saltspire is standing right here. That's even more information. It means it's not here, etc. So you can use this to basically triangulate some information about the special's location. What else did we hear? At about the same radius that the player will do a call out for a Globadier, the Globadier is close enough to do a shot. It's not exactly consistent though, because sometimes Globadiers will fire from incredible distances and Kobe it in, and sometimes they'll fire from incredible distances and fall way short. And I don't have any better information on that, other than it's rare. But the player did a call out. It said incoming or something to that effect. Again, there's a unique one for each. That means that player is targeted by a Globadier shot that's literally just been fired. If you just pick any given direction and run in it, you will dodge that shot 100% of the time. So that's one. Run away from whichever player makes the call out about incoming. What else did we hear? We heard that when I tapped the rat, it went into something called Suicide Run. starts making a lot more noise, screeching, and running towards whichever player it happens to have targeted. The threshold for that is 30% of its health, and let's talk about health. Globadiers are normal rats, meaning that they take damage just like clan and slave rats, and they have double the health, roughly, of clan rats. So for Cataclysm, it's 20 health versus clan rats' 10 health. So it doesn't really take much to put them in that critical threshold. When they do it, they'll run for upwards of 6 seconds maximum. When they get close enough to whatever player is targeted, they'll do a brief hesitation and explode. When they explode, it does damage in a radius around it. If you, let's say you are getting run at and it gets close enough to you and it's right here, it'll pause right here, do its little screech animation, and then detonate. If you continue to backpedal and then dodge, you will get out of that radius 100% of the time, no matter what character you're playing or what weapon. So that's one. Two, after the explosion, or the same thing with the shot, there's a lingering sound. There's a dot cloud that hangs here. The dot cloud for the suicide explosion is very short. The one for the shot is much longer. Let's do it again. You can tell I'm very experienced with this. Hear it? See this boiling and hear the sounds of the sizzle? That means I'll still take damage and have my vision occluded. So let's go ahead and hit it. There's a visual cue. Notice how it had to climb there? If it has to climb up or down, sometimes it'll merely explode instead of coming at you. So let's do another one. Okay, here we go. So here he comes. No damage, and look, it's already over. So the suicide explosion dot cloud lasts much less time. Okay, so that's it for mechanics. Let's talk strategy. So as far as positioning against a gas rat, something like this has its ups and its downs. If the gas rat happens to get just the right trajectory, maybe like here, it could probably shoot over here or hit right here and bomb everyone for massive damage. So that's the trade-off in being a little enclosed spot like this. The upside is many shots will hit here, be blocked by this, and the gas rat can only attack you from a pretty narrow angle, so whoever's watching has a pretty easy time. A general note on handling specials. If you have 4 players, and you have a horde, and you have a special, this is a pretty deadly environment. If all 4 players are hunting for that special, so let's say we were holding the line right here, and now there's a special, and we're all going to, oh, I got to backpedal, right? Because I got to avoid the rats in front of me to minimize their DPS, and hunt for the special. Your line is going to compress, you're going to get pressured, and people are going to take poke and chip damage. Yes, specials do a lot of damage, but grouped up rats do way more. So my suggestion is 1 or 2 players with the most efficient weapon for it, say handgun, true flight, bolt staff, are tasked with looking for specials. Everyone else holds the line. So you have a division of tasks that keeps the front stable and keeps the specials dead before they can hit you 9 times out of 10. A final note on handling gas rats as a single player or small groups. If you're getting overwhelmed, you can use gas rats to your advantage. So let's have him do this little wander phase. He does in between shots. And by the way, he shoots 2 shots before he switches to the next phase. See? 2 shots, and now he's going to wander. If you're looking for gas rats or specials through clouds, mark. Same thing if there's a bunch of rats in front of you. So now he's going to decide to go in shot mode again. Here's 1. Here's 2. You can basically decide where he's going to hit. And you can dodge it almost 100% of the time. So if I had rats following me, I try to get to a place like this where they're all going to funnel for me, and I try to slow down for a second, trying to track where that rat is at the same time. I'm slowing him down, I'm using Hagbane, I'm using dodging to try and stay in place, and then I listen for that sound effect where they're all grouped up, and then I pull back. And look, there's his second shot. He waited a second because he didn't have an angle, but he stayed in shot mode. Okay, so that's clear. You can basically hold still for a second, force it to shoot where you want to, and use it as a way to clear. But you risk taking considerable damage. So if you're going to use this as a strategy, I suggest you use the appropriate trinket. Let's check out the gunner. Alright, so we see him running. We hear him cranking. Here's his wind up, his spin up. Observe where they're shooting.
that a gun? Taking fire from
Okay,
rattling gun!
so what do we see? At a certain distance, he was too far away. He did his catch-up run to get to us. He did a much more straight path than the gas rat. He tried to go right for us for the quickest line of sight. When he saw us, he started winding up. You could hear it distinctly. Around the same distance, we did our call out. You also should have heard the elf say, I'm the target of the rattling gun, or something to that effect. There is a unique call out for each of those, and it means exactly that. The rattling gunner targets one player, and will follow that player as they change their angle. And that's manipulable. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then in between shots, it'll yet again reposition as necessary, and as soon as it has line of sight with the player, it'll start winding up again, etc. Let's check out what the rattling gunner can do if he actually hits you. It's not that common of an occurrence in normal gameplay, though.
Rolling gun!
So he's going to turn to us.
I'm in the gunner's sight!
It's a pretty big spread, right? So if I'm pretty far away, the damage taken will be considerably less. As he spins up, he fires his gun faster and faster and faster until he stops firing. I think it's a 7-second duration. So here it is. It's slow, it's slow, it's slow, it's higher. Okay. Obviously he can't shoot behind walls. He keeps firing at the last place the targeted player was available. So look.
Get your head down!
He's looking right here.
The filthy rat gunner tries to keep up with me! Ha!
He'll slowly arc. Okay. Okay, so let's talk worst case scenario. You're pretty close to point blank with the rattling gunner, and you don't have a ranged weapon that'll let you quickly take it out. So let's replicate it. He's going to turn very quickly towards you during his wind-up. Once he starts his wind-up, though, and he's firing, his rate of turning is very slow. You can circle him all day if you have the time. If you have a weapon with really any amount of push, except for like the elf weapons and the rapier, you can interrupt. I can't. But the other weapons can, and it'll force him back into the wind-up phase indefinitely, and you can control him. Absolute worst case scenario is there's a wall right behind him, right? I can't do any more dodging. I go through it, and I minimize the amount of damage I take. And since it only hits you with a shot or two, especially if you're dodging, you won't get the knockback. Lastly, let's talk about manipulating the rattling gunner. They have a bit of bullet penetration. I think it fires through one target. It just mows down enemies. So if there's a rattling gunner here and you're getting swarmed in an area like this, and this is, let's say, there's no exits back here, what you want to do is not let him come all the way up to the door and start firing into the room. So you're going to want him to be out here, and you want to peek. You peek, you'll initiate his wind-up, and he will fire right here. And if the last place he sees you moving is right here, he'll fire maybe about here. He will then basically mow down all the rats that are coming through, so you'd want to control from right here. So again, just to illustrate,
Draw the gunner's fire! The filthy rat gunner tries to keep up with me! Ha!
some of these fences' little holes actually do have holes. That's pretty cool. Alright, let's talk Packmaster.
You think your hook can match my bow strangler?
Hear him? It's rather subtle. It's a little rattle. You can hear his voice. Alright. Okay, so let's discuss. Every time he fails, he runs off for a bit, maybe about 3-4 seconds. He reinitiates. You can hear his characteristic rattle, but it's rather subtle. If he's coming at you from a crowd, or you hear him spawn during a crowd, you hear the call out, blah blah blah, you're going to want to spam into that crowd as much as possible to try to identify him. And as he gets close, time is dodge. Side dodge is the key, or dodge into. It's got an angle, like a maximum angle, right, from his hook. Like here to here, let's say. That means if you try to dodge back, you're still going to be within that arc, and he's going to hit you. If you have sub maybe 85, 90 ping, it's not impossible to dodge. If you're host, it's very consistent, obviously. I usually watch I guess I don't really watch for anything anymore. I just kind of know. But did you see him dodge his knees buckle a little bit? He tenses up like he's about to go. Then you dodge. One quick note before I move on. If it would make it easier for you to see what's going on to watch this in slow motion, for any YouTube video, you can hold Shift and then hit comma to put it in slow motion. You can do it once or twice for even slower, or you can hit Shift and then period to put it in fast forward, so you can go through stuff and look for highlights in other videos. Target selection. There's a mechanic called dogpile aggro, and the devs have confirmed this. It basically looks at how many rats are targeting a given player. The Packmaster will prioritize players that are being dogpiled. But if no player is being dogpiled, it'll just go for a player. Obviously, the best case scenario is your anti-special guy is not under that much pressure, he locates it, and he pops it with the headshot, and that's the end of the day. Worst case scenario is you get surprised, but not so surprised that you have your pants down, and hopefully the lead player is a player with enough latency that he can get off a dodge. Another thing is pretty common. It's a Packmaster coming through a horde. What you want to do in that instance is spam mark to try to find him. If you have the right kind of weaponry, you'll kind of just bam it, but that's also the best time, in my opinion, the best time to use a normal grenade. Fire grenade's okay, but normal grenade's way better. It'll one-shot a Packmaster, even on Cataclysm. So that, and it'll clear the horde around it too. So even if he doesn't quite take it out, it'll give you a lot of breathing room. And it'll clear a lot of the visual clutter so you can find it and kill it. So let's talk worst case scenario, which is a player actually does in fact get hooked. The Packmaster is going to drag it away for a while, and then he's going to hoist it up in the air. As it's being dragged, it's taking a slight amount of damage per second from the Packmaster. The real danger in most instances comes from other rats and other specials in this instance, and from what it does to your party to respond to it. Best case scenario, all of you as a team en masse immediately start running after this Packmaster. What are you doing? Principally, you're pushing. Why? Push is 360, this player is helpless, he's going to get downed so quickly if you don't help him. If you continue to push, you will keep him safe, and alternating with those pushes, you'll do a couple little shots at the Packmaster to knock it down. As the player is recovering, you continue to push to secure the body, and then once he's back up, everybody kind of orderly retreats back into somewhere safe. That's how you deal with it. I'm going to post some footage here so you can watch it in action. Mind you. I need help left. And now for a brief musical interlude. I could probably do that all day. I hate assassins. I've lost more solo runs to assassin than anything else, probably by a factor of 5. That said, if you know how assassins behave, you can handle 95% of assassins. But sometimes you're just going to get blindsided and there's nothing you can do. Let's focus on the things that we can control, both mechanically and strategically. Let's go. So assassin basically has 4 types of behaviors. One day he'll decide to teleport, and then we can keep talking. Okay, so let's kill him and move on. So, the first thing you'll note is when he's running around on 2 legs, he's basically running back and forth, climbing up and down, occasionally teleporting. He teleports if he doesn't find a viable path to attack after so much amount of time. That's his hunter phase. Then he does target acquisition, and he's like, oh, I found a guy. He's going to run towards you, and then he's going to get on all 4s, slow down, and turn towards you, and almost stop. That's preparing to leap. The preparing to leap phase, that whole thing. Then he's going to be in the air, he's flying at you. If you hit him with a headshot, or he runs into some walls, vertical, that he can't come on comfortably. So he needs a soft landing either on your face or the floor, or something like that. Else he can blow up in midair. Again, geometry dependent. And last is when he's pounced on a player or post-pounce. In that instance, if you, let's say you push him off, Every time you hit him, he will roll. If you do not keep hitting him often enough, he'll get a teleport off, he'll relocate, and he'll go back into hunting phase. So those are the 4 phases. Let's talk about dodging. There he is. Target acquisition. Not quite. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, here he comes. He slowed down, turned at me, crouched. I'm already basically dodging before he leaps. Target selection is actually pretty interesting. The game is constantly calculating how grouped up or how lonely the players are, and it's just as it sounds. If I'm over here and the rest of my party's over there, the game knows I have the highest loneliness value. The assassin spawns looking for me. So when he's far away and you're in an open area like this, it's pretty easy for him to find a line of sight, and he's going to get to one pretty quickly and go for a leap. If, however, you're in a spot like this, and pretend instead that this is completely closed off, and there's only one door right here, the assassin has to go through right here to get you. Wouldn't it be nice if you could hang right here and he would show his face right here and you could blast him and have no of this, oh my god, where is he feeling? Unfortunately, and I think this might be due to path finding as opposed to explicit programming, but I might be wrong. It might actually be explicitly in there. What you'll see an assassin do is he'll find some nice stable path like this, let's say, and you'll see him just as swords flicker, and he'll go back here, and then you'll see just as swords flicker, and he'll go back here. And that's what he'll be doing as you're hiding in there. You camp, he camps. That's the tendency. So those are the 2 different types of hunting behavior he has. Let's talk about responding to an assassin. Positioning is the first key. You get the call, you're running through Horn of Magnus, so you start from over here, let's say, but whatever. You're running through this map. You get the call. You know there's a holdout spot right here. If you hang here, you have, look at these lines of sight. If this is the kind of map where if you get an assassin right here, you've played it enough and you know that he comes from this sector, you're good until he teleports. Once he teleports, you are way low on information. The safest thing to do in almost all cases, though, is to put yourself in a nice hidey hole like this. But we already discussed, that's not going to make the assassin come right here and let you stab him in the face and be done with it. So what next? I call it peekaboo, or cornering, depending on where you come from for the Counter-Strike community. So you come out, boop. Come out, boop. You come out, boop. And you keep looking for it, and what you're looking for is that telltale little bit of swords. And then once you see it, you know where he is, and you aggressively as possible go at him. Because by the time you've noticed him, he's already been in that stable orbit for quite a while. And after being in a hunting mode for X amount of time without going anywhere, the game triggers the assassin to teleport. So it's kind of a game of can you find him and get a shot on him and track him down before he decides to teleport and you have to start the game over again. So assassin hunting is mostly a game of information. The worst possible case is where you don't have information. So let's spawn an assassin and mess around until he decides to teleport. Any day. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. There he is. Okay, I don't know where he is. I'm looking around. Oh, I spot him. So what am I doing? I'm moving around in little circles. I'm dodging constantly, hoping to get lucky. Last thing we'll look at is a little bit of footage of responding to effectively to an assassin, both when he's leaping and doesn't hit a player and when he does in fact hit a player. If he hits a player, you'll see us do roughly the same thing that you do with the Packmaster. It's just get in there, push, get the assassin off, control the situation. If it's not dangerous, you extend to finish the assassin. If you have a player that can kill the assassin easily, so True Flight, you let them do it without extending. If the case is you're really mobbed by Storm Vermin or 2 in a horde, this is not the time to overextend yourself generally. Okay, so let's watch some footage.
Yeah, sandwich a bit there.
Oh, come on. Suicide!
Yes, I'm bleeding. Does it please you?
Oh, we're live.
Alright everyone, thanks for watching. I hope you learned a lot this week. I know the video went a little long, but there was a lot of information. For a little bit more comprehensive coverage, I'm going to have a written guide coming out We have a bunch of members of the community working together to create the long guide for Vermintide. We're in the very baby steps of it, so if you have interest in getting involved, let me know or let Deep Meaning know over on the Reddit. If you have any more questions, as always, let me know. Thanks, guys.